It's that time of year, nights are drawing in, getting a little bit chilly. It can only mean one thing: holidays are coming. Holidays are coming. Holidays are coming. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video, we're going to look or have a discussion on the benefits of grinding coffee fresh. So I'm going to run a little experiment. I'm also going to just talk about why I believe if you're serious about coffee, you should be grinding your coffee fresh before you brew. So I get asked quite a lot, what is an easy win to elevate my brewing at home? And the first thing I always say is, are you grinding fresh? If you're not grinding fresh and you're buying pre-ground coffee, you're off to a bit of a losing start, really, if I'm honest. So in this video, I just want to cover why I think it's beneficial to grind fresh, and also take a look at what's out there, what's available, what you can get your hands on for relatively cheap to just start. I mean, it's coming up to Christmas. There's going to be a lot of people out there looking for gifts to buy, family members who might be into coffee. And one thing I would always recommend is, if they don't have a grinder, to get them a grinder. And if you're looking to buy yourself a little gift, I would go for a grinder. It's the easiest way to get delicious results quickly. So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a little experiment, but we'll have a talk about this little grinder here. So this one is a little Hario mini slim grinder. It retails at around about £30, so it's an entry grinder. This is the one I'm going to use for the experiment, but for me, I think a cheaper grinder is always going to be better than pre-ground. But obviously you want to get something from a reputable manufacturer, so you know you're getting something which is geared up for getting the best results out of your coffee. Now, there is a varied price point from sort of £30 like this little grinder all the way through to, I mean, you can spend as much as you want really. You're looking at top end for a really good grinder like the Niche, you're looking at around about £400. So, and there's everything in between. But I would just suggest sort of dropping an email to your local coffee roaster and just asking the question, what have you got available? What would you recommend? Obviously give your budget range, and then hopefully they will be able to point you in the right direction. But for this experiment, I'm gonna hopefully not set myself up, but I'm going to do what we call triangulation. So I'm going to set up a cupping of 3 coffees, and there is, within each cupping there is going to be an odd one out, and that odd one out is going to be pre-ground coffee. So in this jar I have coffee that I ground on the 25th of October, and then I'm going to freshly grind some coffee in the other cupping bowls with the mini mill, and then we're going to sort of taste them, compare them, and hopefully I'm going to be able to pick out the freshly ground coffee. So a little bit of why I think freshly ground coffee is the way to go is, there's a lot of things that happen in the roasting process. So as we're roasting our coffee, what we're trying to do is coax out all the delicious subtleties that that coffee has to offer. Obviously the green coffee is of real good quality. Within the roasting process, we're turning it brown, we're caramelizing it, we're almost elevating it. We're looking to bring out things like body and acidity, and the main aim is to make that coffee as sweet as it possibly can with no roasty defects. But within the coffee itself there is so many volatile and aromatic compounds that to buy pre-ground coffee is probably going to do a disservice to that coffee, because what you're doing essentially is, as soon as you grind that coffee, all those aromatics are just disappearing into the air. So the key is to get the coffee from grinding to brewing as quickly as possible, so you can get as much and as maximum flavour from that coffee as possible. And coffee that has been pre-ground and been sat around, that is going to degas a lot quicker. All those aromatics are going to disappear, and what you're going to end up with is a subpar, stale cup of coffee. So I'm going to set up the little experiment. I am going to ask, because obviously you know that I'm doing these videos at home now, I am going to ask my partner Ruth to come in and just swap the cups around. So I'm actually doing this blind, so you know that I'm doing it blind, and hopefully I'll be able to pick out freshly ground compared to the coffee that was ground coming up 4 days now. So let's get started, let's set the cupping up. Right, so just to give you a little idea on what I'm doing, these cups have got the pre-ground coffee from 4 days ago. These cups have got obviously the freshly ground coffee that you've just seen me grind. What I'm going to do is I'm going to label up the bottom of the, it's a bit of masking tape on the bottom of the freshly ground. Can't see that masking tape through there. Obviously you're going to need to trust me on this, I can't really see it from the bottom. What I'm going to do is I'm going to basically, I've ground 12 grams of coffee in each. I'm going to fill the bowls up, steep the water for 4 minutes, break the crust, and then we're going to have a slurp, hopefully being able to pick out the odd one out. That's the whole name of the triangulation game, and it is a really good palate training exercise for anybody who's wanting to sort of get better at tasting coffees. But basically what I'll do is I'm going to take 2 of the pre-ground, put them to one side, and then I'm going to put 1 of the ground, freshly ground, into that pile. These 2 are the freshly ground, and this one will obviously be the odd one out for the pre-ground. And what I'm going to do is hopefully going to be able to pick the odd one out. We'll see which ones they are. I'll talk to you while I'm doing it. So I'm going to disappear. Ruth's going to come in and then mess them all up in their individual groups, just sort of move them around. To be honest, looking at this now, I forgot which one's which anyway, so good job I put the masking tape on the bottom. Right, what we're going to do now is we're going to assess them. So I'm going to assess them on the dry, just to see if I can pick up any sort of differences, and then we'll pour the water on. But one thing to note, this little Hario mini mill is what I ground the coffee of the pre-grind at the same setting about 4 days ago on the 25th. So it's the same grind size, using the same grinder. The only difference is one was ground 4 days ago and one was ground literally, I don't know, 3 minutes ago. So let's have a little smell. Interesting. Right, so we'll talk about this side first. I don't want to get too confident, but this one particularly has got less aroma than these 2. It just feels a little bit flat. It's got a tiny bit of aroma, but not as much as these 2. These 2 are just sort of quite intense. Really nice sweetness. It smells like these have just been freshly ground, so we'll hold that there. This one is the one I'm picking out as. a little bit harder to detect on this side, but these two are just lacking a tiny bit. Yeah, this one stands out as it's just got just something about it's just got a little bit more. And I never like to, it's difficult because I think dry aroma is where, when I'm assessing coffees, dry aroma generally tends to be the place that you get real automatic feedback. You've just ground it, and that coffee is wanting you to take as much of them aromatics in as possible. So yeah, I'm not going to say anything just yet, but I've got an idea. I've got an idea of which ones I think are the odd ones out. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the kettle on. I'm going to pour the water on, let them steep, and then we'll get slurping. Right, let's set a timer for 4 minutes. Right, so we've brewed up, poured the water, set our timer for 4 minutes. The next part of coffee cupping is to assess the coffee's wet. Be dramatically different than when you assess them dry, but it's another way, it's another element for you to get your nose in, just give it a big whiff, see if you can pick up any differences between the coffees. So let's get in. Right, so like I said, dramatically different. It adds another element, another layer. It's just a lot richer and a lot bolder. You lose some of those top level aromatics, but what you do is you start to see build up a picture in your mind of what the coffee is actually going to taste like. I'm still feeling the same way. I'm still sort of noticing that these two cups here are just very, very slightly different. Right, so 4 minutes is up. We're going to break the crust on each of these. Right, it's really interesting. Yeah, I think I'm sort of somewhere. I never show my cards really until I've done the whole process from start to finish. So we're going to scoop off the foam. Go and clean up my rinsing cup, and then we'll get stuck in, start tasting. Right, these should be cool enough now. When I get stuck in, do a bit of an evaluation, pick out the odd one out, hopefully, set myself up here, and then we'll sort of discuss. So let's try cups 1. Triangulation 2. So I'm using our new Rwandan coffee, which is washed, which is it's super lively actually, really juicy and really sweet, and it's got those really great African characteristics, those sort of like malic acidity. It's got a bit of green apple, balanced sort of toffee qualities to it. A real great coffee, but I mean, let's pick up on this set of cups first. This is really interesting, and it's quite apparent really. I mean, obviously I do this. I mean, we cup every single batch that we roast, so we're constantly doing this exercise every day in the roastery, and you do become a little bit finely tuned to like subtle differences, especially when you're looking from batch to batch and you're maybe trying to pick out the consistencies of your roasting. But really, these two cups here are dramatically different. You can almost taste the freshness in them. Really good top note acidity, and that's what I'm picking out from here. Is this cup has just dramatically dropped off. It's got a nice body, it's richness, it's got a slight bit of sweetness in there, but it just doesn't have that extra layer that these two coffees are giving me. It just doesn't have that sort of high note acidity, that really crisp, like green apple, that malic sort of acidity that I would expect from the coffee. So I'm sort of somewhere near here. I'm gonna go for this cup as the odd one out, and I believe that this cup is the pre-ground. This one's slightly trickier. Yeah, I think I've got it. These two cups, for uniformity, this one's the odd one out. I believe that this one's the odd one out, and it's just sparkles a little bit more. It's just got a little, it's the cleanness of it. Yeah, the cleanness. It's like these ones are just sort of a little bit muted. I'm just not getting that. Yeah, definitely this one. So this one, for me, has definitely got the edge on these two. It's a better coffee all round. It's, like I said, it's sparkly. It's got that acidity. I'm picking up on the sweetness, the acidity. It just tastes fresher. I mean, that's the whole point. It tastes like a fresher brewed coffee. Now we're going to go for these two as the odd ones out. I think this one is the pre-ground. These two freshly ground. This one freshly ground. These two pre-ground. Drum roll. This is always worrying, setting yourself up. So let's have a look. Right, that one has got a bit of tape on it. So that is freshly ground. I was right on that, but is there a freshly ground? No. No. Yeah. So this one is the freshly ground and these two are the pre-ground. So that's one down. Second, I'm going to go for this one as the pre-ground. It's definitely pre-ground because it's got no label on it. So these two must be the other two. Yeah, it's got the masking tape on the bottom. Not very scientific, I know, but there was a definite difference of them. Side by side. Yeah, it's just got the edge. It's just got so much more to give than the pre-ground. And I mean, so really we're talking pre-ground 4 days ago, and to me that has made a real dramatic difference within the brew. So let's say, for instance, you buy pre-ground coffee and that's been sitting on the shelf for who knows how long, basically. Every day that rolls by, you are getting less and less and less and less freshness, less aromatics, less flavour. The easiest win for me, and it will always be, is to purchase or invest in a grinder, whatever your budget allows, even a £30 grinder will make a huge amount of difference to your brew. One, it's a good little thing to get into. I mean, I find it quite meditative on a morning. You can get up, you can weigh your coffee out, pop your beans in, get a good grind on. It's that ritual. You're taking care, and you're wanting to brew the best possible coffee. If you've invested in really good specialty grade coffee, you want to give it the best chance to shine in the cup. And the way to do that is to grind. So like I said, if you are thinking about getting into coffee, I would recommend you purchase a grinder to grind fresh. Try and stay away from blade grinders, go for a burr grinder. This one's a ceramic burr, but you can get sort of steel burrs. I mean, obviously the more you pay, the better quality the machinery you get. Or if you've got somebody who you know really loves coffee and is really into coffee, just drop them a message. Have you got a grinder, just secretly, and then maybe you can stick it in their stocking for Christmas, because they'll thank you for it for sure. So that's it. That's why I think grinding fresh will always deliver better results than pre-ground coffee. I'm interested, do you grind fresh? Do you still buy pre-ground? Do you grind fresh but don't really see the benefits of the investment? Let me know, I'm interested. I want to start a dialogue. Is it the best thing to do? In my opinion, it is. You're going to get way better results from it, but I'm interested. How do you brew your coffee? Let me know. Comment below if you can. And that's it. That is grinding fresh. Thanks for watching. As always, stay focused and drink delicious coffee.